You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals, funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Good morning, traders, and welcome to our special Black Friday edition of Quasar Markets Live. BigBeat, how was your Thanksgiving, my friend?
Good, man. I got a chance to hang with the parentals, and I'm here in the Villages, Florida, and I got a chance to go. I'll tell you one thing: the restaurants up here were just jam packed for Thanksgiving. So I don't know, maybe the recession's not quite everywhere.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Today is a shortened session, traders. Stock market closes at 1 p.m. Eastern. Usually super low holiday volume, and just to keep things a little bit more fun, CME literally had to shut down a big chunk of the futures trading overnight because their data center overheated. So the markets wobble a little bit this morning. Don't be surprised, as data is, the quant's friend, and they didn't get it till 8 o'clock, right?
And that's a good point. Let's think about that, Howard. When all these companies, these big, massive Mag 7 companies are building these huge data warehouses, and they're stuck because it went down because of the overheating, right? We've said this a million times: electricity, electricity, electricity. It's going to be very, very, very expensive. And it's a good proving right there, proving ground. The whole market of the CME went down because it overheated. So how are you going to cool that off?
Yeah, especially since it's in Chicago area, the Cyrus One data
Open
center.
the door.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're supposed to get about 8 inches of snow over the next 24 hours. I have to be there for it. They brought some things back. Treasuries were first, then FX programs, and then they just kicked off their regular futures. So it is kind of funny there to see that. Steve, do you think any price discoveries compromised or anything we got to worry about there?
No, I don't think so. I think the algorithms were still, in place. It was just mostly data, right? So there is a question mark around, the timing of it, but that's not getting the conspiracy theories. I'm not into that, right? Things happen, right? But this is a good proving ground of what's going to happen in the future if we don't get this under control. That these exchanges. Look at what happens when Twitter goes down with the whole market, right? The market's volume dries up. Look what happens when social media starts to stop. Look what happens when data slows down. And when that happens, it puts people in a different situation, right? Where they think, okay, something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. It just things happen, and the hardware's hardware, but it affects everybody. And you know what? And we not just here, but it happened in the overnight, right? So all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you start to scare some of the Asians, you start to scare some of the European markets, and it could affect them. Now, luckily, thankfully, CME is very smart and got ahead of it and said, "Look, nothing's wrong. We have a data problem here, and we're going to fix it before you even wake up. So don't worry." And they did for a lot of people. Not they didn't beat me to it. I saw the beeps, but that it can bother the European markets and especially the Asian markets. So, but it didn't do it. So I think we're okay. It's working itself out. I mean, right now 92,400 on Bitcoin, so it's not hurting the CME on that. Looking at and when I look at futures, meaning stake, live cattle and feeder cattle with CME, didn't really affect that market, and the bond market at 820. So we're okay. The only market that it really kind of affected was the early trade. So I think we're okay. I think we should be okay today, and I don't think anybody should read into anything into today.
You mentioned it, Steve. Let's flip over to crypto because Bitcoin quietly has had itself a week. We're talking about a brutal drawdown from October records at 126.
Yep.
Dropped about 30% from the highs. We were hovering just about 84K last week, and people were asking if the bull market was over. Fast forward to this morning, regained 92, now up about 8% on the week. Crypto adjacent names are catching a bid. Coinbase, Robinhood, MicroStrategy, all moving higher in the pre-market. Steve, I think you sold some of yours, right?
Yes. So as you know, last week I banged the table, said for capitulation, hey, take this opportunity when the world feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket, buy. And we did, right? If you were paying attention to our show here, we bought quite heavily and we crushed it. Well done, everybody. But what's interesting is I also took some of that off, right? Some of that profit I took and put it away and bought a new coat, right? That's
There you
kind of
go.
the cool things, right? I look at things like, hey, when is capitulation? And that was a good example of it, right? When people were screaming, when I talk about be the ticker taker at the door, that's what I mean, right? When
Yep.
people are screaming to get out, be right there, stand right there saying, you know what, I'll buy your Bitcoin. And that's what Michael Saylor did. That's what Tom Lee did. That's what institutions did. When BlackRock's screaming at you saying, hey, sell, they're buying, right? Be careful, be the opposite end of that because you know what's happening. Now, listen, at the same time, we've had a heck of a run here. We've had an 8% run in a few days. That's a pretty good run. That's a Mag 7, that's an NVIDIA kind of run, right? A Tesla kind of run, crypto kind of run. So take some off if you need to. I'm not telling you what to do. Obviously, we don't do that. But I did. I took some profit off and let the rest of it run. And take some of that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And I've got some now. You guess what? I think we go to, like I said last week, I think we go to 100,000. So on Bitcoin. So I'm not too scared. I don't know, Howard. You're the boss man when it comes to Bitcoin, but you tell me.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with what you're saying there. You said a few things there. I think that the Fed cut expectations definitely smooth some things over. Institutional flows. We did get news that BlackRock's income fund added Bitcoin exposure. You mentioned Tom Lee. I mean, they've been buying. Um, you know, but I will point out this is a relief rally and a downtrend still.
Agreed.
We haven't
Agreed.
broken. Now
Yeah.
I hope now if we start getting back up, like you said, to 100, and even then, most things I see are calling for a run back up to about 105, and
Mm,
then watch out below again. That this is just going to be a big relief rally, and then comes back down the level we're at now, and then we trade sideways for a while. So I don't
I could
argue
agree
with
with
that.
that. I agree
Yeah, I
with
don't
that.
argue with it at all. It's what we
Yeah.
see during bear markets. If this really is a 6-month bear market for crypto, that's what we'll see. So I did not sell yet. I'm holding for 94,250. Just reaches a fib level in a spot where we sort of traded
Now,
sideways before
now,
dropping
Howard,
down
I
a
will
bit
say
finish.
that over the holiday, I did buy Shiba. I bought back in, and we
You
crushed it.
love that
Right?
thing. You
I
crack me
do.
up with that one.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's a guilty pleasure, right? But I will say that if this is the case, then you could start to see altcoin season again, and I'd be very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm not going that far yet. Blue chips,
Okay.
though, I will say that Chainlink will be kicking off an ETF on 12/2, the first Chainlink exposure that institutions can get. I think they're going to be very interested in that. So we've been buying some Chainlink here over the last few days in our room in expectation of that jump. The last one to get it was XRP, which took a nice little jump last week when nothing
Yep.
else did, from 180 to 220 on that news. So if we can catch that kind of play on Chainlink, definitely we'll try to do that. And as I mentioned, all the crypto stocks adjacent are up nicely this morning. Now the question is there a sell-off? And I don't think is necessarily, as I've told my students again today, with the ETFs being mostly institutional led, I don't think you'll see much sell-off today
No,
on
and
it.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because something that I've been talking about for the last 2 years has hit an all-time high.
What's that, Steve?
Silver.
Hey,
Silver hit an all-time high this morning, right? And the silver market is really tied to the retail market. And look, Coinhood and Monster they're all strategy. They're all retail stocks, right?
yep.
So I think that there's a tie in here, but silver is definitely made an all-time high now.
Great to see that. Yep. Gold at 41.90 here. Morning is looking pretty green so far, Steve. We
Yep.
we have, even after the data came up, and I was laughing because CNBC was like acting as if the world was ending. You could just look at the SPY or the Qs to get a same sort of feeling because they were trading fine. And I noticed they came right back to parity once the futures did open. Qs are slated to open up about 40 basis points here at 616.74. The SPY set to open at 681.34, up about a quarter basis. Dow Jones also slated to open to the upside. VIX still below 18, so fairly muted so far. Gold 41.90 and silver, as Steve said, at 54.36. Steve, I also saw treasuries are saying we're definitely getting a cut, dropping back below 4% here, 3.99 on the 10-year.
Yes, I will tell you that I've been watching the news quite a bit in regards to the Fed's balance sheet. The most ever in history is on the balance sheet now. We're talking about way back in the day. We're talking about the percentage, and I don't mean the number, just the amount, just the percentage too as well. That M2 number is, I think I saw 27 trillion. This is a ridiculous number at this point. Not to mention the amount of money that's on the sidelines. So, look, if there's any kind of bounce here, it could be buoyed by institutional buying. Now, Howard, if you saw my social media posts over that, then you notice that I was talking about one thing and one thing only, that we'll have a Santa Claus rally, and I've talked about that on several occasions over the last few years. Last year, I said no Santa rally. There was no Santa rally. This year, I'm calling for a Santa rally, and the reason being is because I think we're going to have more. Cuts than we think. I think the Fed is going to be a different Fed. President Trump is going to get the Fed that he wants. He will have control of that Fed with new members. We now know who the new Fed governor, new chair now will be, that will replace Powell. And he'll probably have another few more to appoint. So he will get that, and we know what he wants. He wants a lot. Now, I've said this a lot of times. Be careful what you wish for, right? Scott Bauer says the same thing. We saw it from Steve Flanagan. Be careful what we wish for, because cutting rates there's a reason why you have cut rates, because people need to be able to buy houses and cars and everything else. But I'm calling for a Santa Claus rally, and I'll tell you why. Because if this dip that happened here it holds a bit, these institutions are gonna have to do some what they call window dressing. They're gonna have to make some purchases back in the markets. So if that's the case, Howard, then we're gonna have a Santa Claus rally going into it. Now, let me make sure everybody understands this. A Santa Claus rally does not mean now to Christmas. Okay. It means the day after Christmas until a few days after January the 1st. Okay, the first week of the opening of the markets in the new year. So that's what the Santa Claus rally timeframe is. But I'm seeing it. And honestly, we normally have in December, if you look back all the way to the beginning, and I've made a post about this on Twitter, that on the average, we get a 1.3 to 1.5% push up in the month of December. So we could be in smooth sailing here for this month.
Love to hear that. I bet our viewers do too. Steve, let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing or hearing from retail. I will say before I get into the notes I've put together, did you see Shopify CEO on CNBC this morning?
I did not get to see him, no.
Oh man, they've got this app that shows them like every sale that's happening and where it's being shipped to. It was so cool. $12 million a minute, like this whole thing that was showing the consumer. I thought it was really cool. The big takeaway from that, to be honest with you, is because they can see exactly, they have transparency into everything that's being bought. Yep. It looks like our wives are just shopping for themselves on Black Friday and not really caring about us very much, because all the number one movers in the searches were all women's cosmetics, like yoga pants,
Lululemon.
Yeah. So like they said is it looks like the women, and Becky said it, the women are shopping for themselves today because they've already done the shopping for the rest of us.
That's correct. Yeah. And what's interesting is,
that was interesting. In-store traffic has basically been flat for years since COVID. For
correct.
6 years running, more people shop online than Black Friday. I got to say, my wife's the exception. She's out there. She just left. I think it's crazy.
We bought a new vacuum cleaner. We needed a vacuum cleaner. We held off, and you know what? Got it at half off, right? And why? Because we buy Dyson, and they're not cheap vacuum cleaners, right? So we waited ourselves, and guess what? Got it at half off at Best Buy. So, I was at Best Buy the other day, like we talked about that last week, and guess what? They did not have the sales that we were expecting, but yet the foot traffic was in there. In Florida, so it's a mixture, right? People are looking for the deals, but it's not. Look, it's the wealthy that are buying. It's pretty much what's happening right now. It's not the average person is not going in there now. It was now one thing I did see, which was interesting to me, was that they actually increased the time to purchase by starting at 5 a.m. and not at 6 a.m. So they, instead of having an extra day of Black Friday, they actually started at 5 a.m., which was the first time at Best Buy that I've seen. I don't know if that's everywhere, but 5 a.m. is
So
really
you
early
just
for.
nailed something. I have my notes here. Is it's now
Oh,
become what they're calling the 5-day turkey spread.
5 day
Thanksgiving through
turkey spread.
Cyber
All right.
Monday is now it's really start Thanksgiving. So it's those 5 days that they're now tracking together. That kind of matters there. And the other thing that they talked about, and I agree with because I know I'm in that case, consumers are suspicious of discounts because retailers have been running promos before, during, and after Black Friday. And is it a sale? Like, one of our partners here at Quasar, I know TradingView, this is their best deal, the 80% off. So that I felt comfortable, I bought. But I was looking at laptops because I'm in that market, and I wasn't happy with the deals I saw. It's on Lavonos and it's on, HPs. It wasn't on the Dells. It wasn't, although, what had some good deals? Apple had some pretty good deals out there, Steve.
Apple does have good deals. Yeah.
I just don't think I want their laptop. I'm not in that ecosystem with my computers, so having the laptop would sort of screw me up, not help me. So I did think that was interesting there. And as they also said, a little bit of an AI hangover. November becomes the tech bloodbath, Steve.
Yep.
Still some names that are well down there. A couple I was looking at here is SMCI, still down about 36 to 37% this month. Do any of these start to interest you, the laggards, or do you think it's still too early to look at that area of it so far?
I still think it's Mag 7 right now. That's where my thought process is.
Would you
Um,
add
I-
Oracle and make it a Mag 8, 9, 10, or whatever they're calling it these days?
no, I don't think
Okay. Just
so.
because it's one that's way down, I just didn't know if you would maybe
Right.
be adding
No.
that. And the last one I'm going to ask is, what about AMD?
Yeah, AMD is getting interesting here. There's still, if you look at the technical analysis on AMD is very simple. What do we got there, Howard? We've got a huge gap, and that gap's got to get filled, right? So, I think we wait till that gap gets filled in AMD before I
Your
before I.
buyer at 170?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That 214, by the way, for anyone who's wondering there, it is a little bit off from that. So that would be an interesting one. Steve, as we get ready for the new year, the other thing I'm starting to see is talks about what could be coming next and the president's OBBBA Act. Did you see Wall Street Journal's 30 stocks poised to benefit the most from that?
I did. I'm going to say something that might not. The Republicans that are in the House and the Senate are starting to turn against the president a bit. It's going to be a little bit harder to get that bill passed, I think. We got to see it. I got to see it.
I thought it already is passed.
No, I understand, but I understand that they're doing the tweaks to it. Is that correct? Where they're trying to add the riders now to it. Where I don't think the rest of it's going to get taken care of, because I think there's a problem with those 30 companies. I'll have to go into it deeper than I have now,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
what this was focused on was about the 4.1 trillion in new outlays through 2034 that have
right.
been put in place. 5.5 trillion, as you said, if the temporary provisions become permanent. So
Correct.
this was
That's what
based
that's
on
what
the.
I'm concerned about, right? Is this just a blip, or does he get it passed through the next Congress? And I don't think that he does. So I'm not sure how much this really helps yet. That's why I'm concerned about it. I probably need to do a deep dive into who voted for it exactly. But when I look at the companies that they're going to invest in, okay, great. Yeah. Um, mm, I
Yeah,
don't
the
know. I
things
think
they're saying is, a CapEx revival, look at, Caterpillar, Cummins, Deere, Eaton, and Nucor. The cheaper, effective investment costs, more
right.
equipment orders, facility upgrades, R&D. They went to one that you've been on, defense and critical metals. their winners, General Dynamics, L3
Materials.
Harris, Northrop
Yeah.
Grumman, Huntington Ingalls, and the critical metal companies like you've been talking about. They talked about energy, specifically a clear win for oil and gas.
Yeah.
Exxon, Conoco, Phillips were ones there.
I
Small
tell you,
business
I
and
tell you one that I do like. If I don't know if you can pull it up for me. I don't have my.
yeah,
I'm not at my house, but is Ingersoll Rand.
there you go.
Yeah, and if you pull up a weekly chart on this one, this is where I'm getting a little bit interesting on this one here. You can see where the line is at the bottom. It's getting very interesting to me. If you're looking for a longer term stock, one that you don't know about that would be affected by this, Ingersoll Rand would be one of them, and I do like this company.
Okay, there you go. Um, they also hit on, I'm trying to remember the other sectors here. They did talk about small business and private capital. Names to look at would be Apollo, M&T Bank, maybe Key Corp. You like any of
Mm,
that area?
Key Corp, yep. Key Bank, yep.
Okay. And then obviously consumer and tax changes would help the high wealthy. Look at Ralph Lauren, Tapestry. But they also did say Costco, who is attracting the more affluent consumer there. So, and I did see the gentleman, his last name is Forbes, but I don't, not from that part of Forbes that owns all the high scale malls in your area, Steve, who was talking about all the business that they were seeing. And again, that the Hermes buyer, the Versace's buyer, they have not been hurt and they are still considering those things to be must haves.
I have to ask, is Coach, is this still a brand that's for the wealthy anymore?
Oh, I have no idea. You'd have to ask my wife that one. I will
Because,
look into
and for those of you who don't know, Coach is Tapestry. So, uh, I don't personally think that it is anymore. There's so many deals out there for Coach. If you really want a Coach bag, you can pretty much get one. So, um, yeah,
Well,
I
that's
don't.
interesting that you bring that up because he did mention the fact that the gentleman who owns the malls that the ones that or the fact that you can't get them when you want them, the Versace stuff and the
The Versace, no,
the
no, of course not.
Hermes and
Right,
all
but
those. So that would be a good point if you can get Coach very easily now.
right.
Then that might be the changer because the scarcity, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Geez,
I mean, if you
scarcity.
want a Hermes, if you want a Hermes scarf, you have to go to Fifth Avenue, right? You've got to go down to Chicago's Magnificent Mile. You got to go to Miami. It's very hard to get a scarf. It's hard to get, Hermes. You have to go to like some higher end. I think there's one in the mall in Tampa, but it's a rarity, right? Coach is a little bit, it's more out there than most of the stuff that you can get today. So I don't find Coach to be a brand anymore that is high end anymore. So that's
Okay,
kind of
and there
my
are other
thought
brands,
process.
Kate Spade, which I don't think is high end at
Same
all.
thing. Coach
Yeah,
said Coach Kate Spade. Yeah.
so it was interesting. We are about 5 minutes from the open. Tick is positive. Advanced decline sitting at around
Go Bitcoin, go.
2,200. What's that?
Go Bitcoin, go.
Oh,
92
nice.
7 now.
Yeah, it's definitely squeezing a little bit this morning. It's got some room. Like I said, it's got room to that 94 pretty
Look
quickly
at
here.
silver, 54.85 right now.
Yeah, continuing to move up. Markets look like they want to run today.
The retail market wants to move today.
Yeah. Going
Maybe
up
maybe
about a half a percentage point in the pre-market here. Continue to move to the upside. Like we talked about, the crypto names, Coinbase up about 3.5% so far today. Not seeing all that many laggards. Nvidia is down a little bit from the where it was, but it's made a pretty big run. Oracle's down another 3% here in the pre-market, Steve.
again, I think it's got to reach, pull up a weekly chart on Oracle for us. And I'll show you what my thought process is here. Um, there you go. It needs to get to the bottom of that linear regression, I think, and we need to see lower volume. Once we see that, I think the turn can happen, but we're not quite there yet.
Palantir up about 1%. Palantir's starting to recover here over the last couple of days so far.
And you know what? If we got some more contracts in the government for Palantir, I could see that actually, but I don't see that right now. But
Bitcoin about to break 93 here. We're definitely seeing a big swath of
let's go, baby.
liquidations.
Let's go. I think Shiba could burn a zero here in the next couple of days. How about dollar yen's finally settling down? 156.30 now. Went to 157. It's a lot of sushi and sake, but still. But the dollar is still holding steady here, 99.57. I'd be interested to see what Steve Flanagan has to say here. But right now, I'm sitting holding. Look at this, 92.98. We're almost there, 93,000, almost there. Remember, we were 82,000 last week there, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what happens when you pay attention in Quasar markets. We nailed this one for everybody. So 92.9, there it is, almost there.
Yep, nice run up, and it's good to see Ethereum get back above 3,000 there. Now we just got to hold some of these levels a little bit, but nice run up. It's got all those crypto names, as we mentioned, running with it today. Galaxy Digital up 4% so far. Mara up almost 5% this morning.
And a part of me wants to buy NVIDIA here this morning.
I still have mine that we bought down in the 172.
I'm gonna buy NVIDIA this morning.
Tom Lee's having a good day. Bitmine up 6.27 here this morning, so getting a nice little run. Chips are more of a mixed bag so far. Marvell getting hit pretty hard, down 1.73%. NVIDIA, as I mentioned, down 74 basis points. ASML slightly down. Qualcomm slightly down.
All right, I put an order in for NVIDIA here to buy. We should be opening up here soon.
We're 1 minute from the open so far.
Yeah, I'm actually buying on the cash market for those of you who are asking. I'm buying in the cash market, not in before.
And we are, nope. Getting a dump before open on NVIDIA might give you a nice little spot here.
Yeah, maybe get one here. Might get one here.
There we go. We are now open here. NVIDIA opens at right about 179.
Yep.
Apple is down about 16 basis points. Google, the big winner so far, up a little over Amazon up 1.5%. Oh, Amazon getting a nice little push to the upside here.
Yep.
First
Makes
move
sense.
on the tick, slightly negative. Advanced decline only went up to 2,500. That's the first warning sign I'm seeing. We were already at 22 and change. So that's not really a big jump up in the cash market. First move on the NASDAQ looks to be slightly to the downside, trading below 616 here. The S&P also first moves to the downside. Bitcoin also cools off from that 93 level. We got just above 93, back down to 92.7. But again, profit taking, not a bad idea. So we can't get mad at folks for doing it.
I am long, pretty long NVIDIA here.
Okay, Steve just went long NVIDIA.
Look, these new computers are going to need those NVIDIA chipsets, so I expect it. 92.7 now on Bitcoin. There's a little bit of a selling there on the open there. Man, I think what we'll do is we'll probably just, there might be some selling here, but I think we'll gravitate up. We'll walk that wall of worries I've been talking about up a little bit here.
Yeah, I think, it's usually light volume. As we know, it's usually mostly retail. These, algos can work without people, so the little quants are going to fight it out right now, but I don't necessarily think we're going to see much of a move
No, the
Oh,
quants are
it
pretty
is.
much dead today. Yeah, algos are dead today. If I don't, it wouldn't be a very smart move for algos to be trading in this today. There you go. There's your move to the upside again. 92.7 again now on Bitcoin.
Yep. Nice little rebound there. Gold trying to get back above 4,200 here. And Steve Silver's at 54.85 here. Nice little move there. New all-time high there on silver.
Yep.
Boom. The metal company up 9.43%. So it's not just metal itself, but the companies that mine it up nicely here, up about 9.43. SanDisk, which had really got hurt the other day, up about 7% today.
Nvidia
I
is trying to move
mentioned
up again.
Mara's up about 5% here. Nice little move to the upside. All the crypto names, as we mentioned, also to the upside. Steve, Dave, and Buster is getting a nice little move here, up 3.7% today.
You know what's interesting? I think people are looking at experiences more than just
Hey, we talked about that.
yeah.
Remember on Wednesday, how bowling alleys are seeing a resurgence, movie theaters, all
I
those type of
saw
things.
a. I was watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, and there was a float with a bowler on it. She was bowling, so they're pushing bowling right now. I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
like I said, gotta love the Macy's Day Parade. Gotta love.
Oh yeah, I remember the day I fell at the parade. It's
My
cold
mother
as heck.
used to participate. She worked
Yeah.
for in the retail industry, and she sold to Macy's and was able to actually hold one of the balloons a couple times.
If you're paying attention to Nvidia here, 179.17. Now we are pushing higher here. 179 and a quarter here. We are moving higher now.
Steve, did you see the president and his family fired the CEO and chief financial officer of their one of their crypto companies there? Alt 5 is the ticker. It's called Sigma or something. Alt 5 Sigma Corp. They're not really happy that the in the performance of their stock, since it is just gone from
Is he president of the
high
United
of
States or president of what? I'm not sure.
what was that?
I'll leave my comment to myself on that one.
Yeah.
179 a quarter, 28 now. Now Nvidia on the highs of the morning here. So I think
I will
Nvidia
say we had some
could
folks
go positive here.
in the crypto crew that we started talking about this shorting this when it was up at like $10. And we've got a couple that have just held tight and been shorting this thing since $10, $11. Bitcoin 92,650, so not quite able to pull apart yet, pull away.
No. Google up another $5 today. That's the gift that keeps on giving there.
Tesla 431, what a move there.
Intel's up 3% this morning. Amazon is up about a couple bucks here. MongoDB up another. Look at that, up another $5 today. The one I called out there on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I said MongoDB is the hot one. Get ready for that one.
We got 9 of the 11 sectors of the S&P are in the green so far.
Yeah, I would
Healthcare is down about a half.
$55 now on
Oh,
silver. 55.02, still going higher. Go get grandma's jewelry out and go take it to the store because that's about, man, $55 an ounce. Oof. We're going higher though, I think.
I've seen calls, some ridiculous calls on silver due to scarcity.
It's a scarcity. It's there's a massive scarcity out there. I've made posts about it, talked about it, and the need for it now with EVs, the need for it with lithium and with all of the stuff. It is just absolutely crazy how much of a need that there is for silver. And that's not even for jewelry. That's actual need of silver.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Tick's gone slightly negative. Like I said, advanced declines now come back down below the highs of the pre-market. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep my Nvidia over the weekend. I think we'll see a nice little run back the upside here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I don't argue with you there at all. As you know, like I said, I am in there. Zscaler, I think, just filled its gap. It did. Zscaler filled its gap here. Steve, you interested there now?
That big volume candle to the downside is pretty strong on Zscaler.
Yeah, you think? It matches the one that it went up.
Yeah.
Those people capitulated.
I will say I watched of course last week I finished up season 4 of Netflix's Stranger Things, and I started watching Stranger Things and fell asleep. Which, a horror flick, and I fell asleep, right? But Netflix is up this morning. They have a pretty interesting situation there. They are releasing the whole season 5 throughout the month.
Yeah,
So
they're
that's
expecting $200 million in profits from that
yes.
license this year. I saw an article on that.
Not to
They
mention
also,
all the
I
things.
will say that that dragon, KP dragon hunter thing that my daughter
Demon
watches.
Pop, K-pop, Demon Hunter. Yeah,
Yeah, they were all over Macy's parade too, and you're seeing. I will say the cross merchandising you're seeing from Netflix rivals Disney. So that will be
and I own
interesting.
Disney stock, so
Yeah, you know what I mean. Is I did think that they did a good job, Netflix. It's going to be interesting to watch, Steve. Amazon's got a lot going on today. Amazon's taken over. They got a skins game going on that I think already started. They've got the football game at 1. They've got an NBA game following that. I was a little surprised by them. So we are seeing, is Legacy, are you done with your Comcast? You've talked about this a little bit. This is for me, who watches a lot of sports more than most other things that I watch. I'm seeing this big change where they're not just dipping in and buying NFL. They've got all, huge coverage at Netflix, at Amazon, at
oh,
YouTube.
I think right now the sport that's really pushing here is UFC
And that's a
and
big one too. That's Paramount. So Paramount
Paramount,
just kicked off
right?
with them. They just announced their first card. It's a pretty big card. It's got a lot of the knockout
Yeah.
artists that people like to watch, Gaethje and those folks are fighting. So Pimblett and yeah, I mean that I'm with you. That's what I'm saying is they're not just buying NFL. They I saw one of the
Yeah.
CEOs, or the Amazon guy, and they're an F1 that you've talked up highly is one of the ones they talked about. They're all into the soccer world, obviously, because
Yep.
there's so many leagues around the globe. And now, we knew the major 5 sports, so to speak, if you want to include WNBA in there, but now we're actually seeing that drawn down into these next level of sports, like you're saying, combat sports and the other. So I did think that was kind of interesting to say.
Yep.
It's up
Look at
about 150. We are moving slightly to the upside.
silver. Oh my goodness, 55 and a quarter now, up 3.5% here in just early trade. Woof. Nvidia slipping a little bit here, down $3 now.
Yeah.
Apple slipping a little bit too. RCL pushing up a little bit here. Royal Caribbean now up $1.62 here, on up 0.61%.
Mag sevens that took a little run have cooled off. Tesla's pulling back here, got as high as 432.92, now back at 429. They trapped some folks in, you think, this morning, Steve?
I don't know about trapping, but it's more like maybe some profit taking. They're going to see some
Segments,
window
yeah.
dressing. Yeah. Yeah, it's just quiet day here. John Deere down another $3 here. Remember I called on Schwab not too long ago that John Deere and Cat would be one that I don't see much going on there. Yeah, over the last month it's down 2% now because they had that nice run, and all that run's gone. So yeah. but the VIX is holding steady. The VIX isn't moving up, so I don't really see much here. Um, yeah, I'm gonna hold everything I'm doing. I'm holding.
I'm hearing Thinkorswim users are having major issues.
Sure.
So Thinkorswim seems to be having problems here.
Eli Lilly down about 2% here. I was reading an article in the journal this weekend, last week, a couple of days, about a new shot coming out that will be, instead of weekly, it'll be monthly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Eventually, everybody will be on the shot, and everybody will be like thin.
Yeah. I mean, I
Like,
saw your holiday photos, buddy. Looking good. Looking
thank you,
good there,
sir.
man.
Thank you, sir. 130 pounds lost so far.
That is amazing. Amazing. Steve,
Pretty
when
quiet.
Mr. Flanagan comes, we're going to have to ask him about China's silver economy, which is that households age 60 and plus have boosted spending about 129% over the past decade. Are the
They know they're not
boomers going
going
to
to, they can't
take
take it with
China?
them.
Are they going to take China out of, the doldrums, so to speak? Looks like I lost Steve here. He is on the
Sorry
road.
about that.
So, yeah,
There
there
you go.
you go. Oh, that's what I just said.
It's kind of quiet here. I think
Tick
the
is
markets are,
muted. Yeah, Tick is
yeah.
actually very muted, just at 50, and just sort of sitting there. Not a ton going on. It just seems, if you look at it now, I do see Scott Bauer saying that the CME outages are causing the markets to be a little wide, even in Qs. So be careful if you're trading the options. If
Okay, Howard, explain what it means by being wide.
So the ask bid ratios are moving up. One thing that option traders, especially that are scalping zero DTEs, need is like a 1 penny
See? See?
spread. Yeah.
This is exactly what I mean why zero DTEs are bad. Because when you have those heavy zero DTEs, yes, they're adding volume, but they're getting burnt, right? And now that they're out of the market, it's showing what the market actually does, right? It's not as crazy, it's not as volatile, it's more normal. And that's what this is a good example of showing them with the pants down of what CME does with the zero DTEs, not as them, but the options markets. So hey, this is kind of showing people why you don't trade zero DTEs. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and
yeah,
and you definitely don't touch them in times like now when things are wide.
right,
And you shouldn't trade them on low liquidity days anyways. Again, those things need, as Steve's mentioning, you want to trade liquid markets, and you don't want to be stuck 20 minutes from an expiry, not able to sell what you might be in profit at that point, and then have
right.
it go the opposite way in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, the selling in Bitcoin's a little wonky too, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, this gives buy the dip opportunities. I do think, you could
Jim
see
Cramer said
some.
it last week. Was he's negative, 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 negative on Bitcoin, and that was almost this telltale sign that went to buy. I mean,
Yeah.
he nailed it to the butt. I mean, thanks, Jim.
For me, what we've done is we've at least for the immediate future, it seems like that was the capitulation, and
Right.
now we can feel comfortable trading both sides. You can trade both sides of it. You can trade long, you can trade short, and it will work like a regular market. So that's what we want to see. And trying to hold above the 382 fib, of course, would be extremely positive.
What's interesting here is oil's pushing back up too as well with all that oil coming on the market. With Putin's talk this weekend about saying that this is a starting point now. I mean, Putin loved the peace deal, and then he's getting, come on, man. I think Trump is doing the right thing by sending an envoy, sending Witkoff. Witkoff's a very smart man. I like that, and not trying to do it himself. So this is a much better situation. But um, mm,
Yeah, hopefully they
104,
can get some movement there.
104 there on Disney. We need to get Disney back up to about a 111 there. Because I thought Disney did a well job talking about their new ship, the new cruise ship. They've expanded again. So, and there's a big, big gap in there. So I think that's what I'm buying Disney on.
Yep, can't argue with
Technicals
that.
and fundamentals.
Steve, did you see Goldman Sachs came out with an article I saw where they are estimating that gold's going to drop and stay at $53 through most of next year?
Gold at $53 or silver?
No, excuse me, crude, WTI.
Crude. Oh, yes, and I agree with that. I do. Honestly, I was reading an article, and I can't remember which one it was now, that said that literally oil could be cut in half over the next 5 years. I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, that blew me. Could you explain why what the thesis there is? Because I was that shocked me because we know that a lot of those companies aren't profitable at those prices.
that's right. They're not. And let's be honest. But we won't need oil. We won't need oil the way that we don't use this for plastic as much. We're already working on that. Electric vehicles are picking up again. We know that. Tesla is picking up again. We know that. And we won't need all this oil. I mean, oil makes what? Lipstick. Oil makes all kinds of things, right? It's not just gasoline. It's not just jet fuel and oil. There's a lot of things that oil does, right? And
Yeah.
we won't need all these products in the future. So honestly, I can see oil at 30, $40 a barrel and they'll be happy at that. But at that point, your shell drillers won't be happy, your offshore drillers won't be happy. And they won't be profitable, especially with inflation as it is. Obviously, with the roughnecks, the guys that are out there on the ships and rigs, I should say, they're not going to be able to make their money. So oil is in trouble here, I think, over the next 5 years. As we even need more electricity, because obviously you're obviously bringing on nuclear energy at the fastest rate since the 70s. 3 Mile Island being restarted. My goodness gracious, right? Microsoft buying 3 Mile Island. You're seeing alternative energy now picking up in Europe again, and they are now releasing the oil now out of Russia again. So, and we know very very much so that Saudi Arabia is running out of oil and they're moving their funds. So hey, you know what? I agree with Goldman Sachs on this call. Probably, probably even bigger than they think. Actually, I think.
Steve, I'm just seeing Waymo has a 10% market share in San Francisco already and getting there in LA and Phoenix also.
And
And that's on their
Vegas,
own
yeah.
app. That's an interesting one. So that's
I
could
think
be
when we're in Vegas, Howard, I think you and I need to take one of those driverless taxis around, and we'll do a show from the driverless taxi to do a quick
we
update.
could do that for sure while we're there. Absolutely. That'd be funny. Yeah, I don't know if I want to get in one of those yet. I'm not ready.
They
I
haven't had a
call
wreck yet, so
listen,
we're okay.
I
They
don't want to
haven't
be
had
one
a
of those
wreck.
ones where we get locked in and it drives us in a circle for 17
I hope it
hours.
does, because then Howard, you and I are locked in, and then we can talk about the world.
Yeah.
Then have a
Yeah,
few
we'll
beers in
live
there,
stream the
right?
whole thing, right?
Burn have some
That's
batteries or
funny.
something. Yeah, electricity. Yeah.
Nvidia is bouncing back from those lows nicely here, back
All
up
right,
to
let's bring him in.
$178.66.
Let's get Steve in here.
Oh yeah.
Happy
How we doing,
Thanksgiving, Mr.
Mr.
Flanagan.
Flanagan?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys. I hope everybody had a good day. See an outage overnight from a cooling center. What's interesting is they leased that back out. They leased that building. They developed that data center, and then they gave it up to some group in Chicago, and they have no control over it, just highlighting yet another Achilles heel to the system. Very
Yeah.
horrible, very poor risk management on their part.
Yeah, if they
Yeah.
were trading on blockchain, they could use any computer in the world and the blockchain would still be working.
Yep. Well, I look at this. It's a shortened day, but it's month end. Maybe not such a big deal in equities and fixed income, but a very big deal in the currency markets.
Yes.
At 11 o'clock Eastern time, the whole world repivots themselves on the fulcrum of FX. All the valuations, all these models, you don't have to. The algos in the FX world, well, algos are perpetual motion. They never stop, right? Because they're models and they're taught to trade. and they're going to continue to trade. Now, the amount will, of course, be reduced on a day like today.
Mm-hmm.
But in FX, we all at 11 o'clock, there's a 5-minute window. I'm giving you the institutional side, pulling the curtains apart here for you.
Absolutely.
5 minutes, they come up with an average rate, and then everybody then balances books off of. So it could be an interesting look at 11 o'clock New York to see what happens. So in about an hour's time. But bigger picture that I wanted to point out to you guys today, Europe. A lot of the GDP figures were announced. You had, let's go with a non-European, Switzerland, minus 0.5%. We had the German one on Wednesday, 0%.
Yep.
We had the Italians at 0.3. We had the French at 0.5. And the inflation figures were all announced. There is no inflation in Europe. Many of these countries coming well under the 2% level on a yearly basis. What is this? The only reason I'm highlighting this, the deflation that China is in the midst of, spreading. And in a deflation environment, you are not holding restrictive interest rates. The U.S. is not insulated from this. We perhaps are at the tail end of this. It's coming here. Prices are going down. We saw the PPI number. And this is where I'm jump back on my
But Steve, how are we still getting the speakers in the Fed still saying that we're seeing job losses, we're seeing inflation going down in Europe, we're seeing inflation going down and deflation now in Asia? Talk to me. What is it the Fed is missing here? Job losses are at the highest since COVID. Like what is going on here? What is the Fed missing here?
Their models. They're based on antiquated looks. They look.
I understand that, but they also they turn the CNBC on too. They turn Bloomberg on. They see us. So tell me, what do we need to tell them that they need to wake up and spill the coffee here?
Well, Steve, I'm sorry, they're still caught in the tariffs equals inflation mantra, and
so political. They're politically charged.
Academics and politically charged.
Okay. Makes
and
sense.
We know that's all going to change. That is why the markets are beginning to percolate. Right. People are seeing, something that's not talked about is how Scott Bessent roughly has saved the debt, our interest rate that the country has to pay on all this debt. Yes. He's probably saved around $20 billion already in a very short period of time this year.
Yes.
How? He's selectively buying back debt that's higher interest rate,
yes,
and reissuing or redoing shorter term. Now, that's what.
But that also means the Fed's got a big damn balance sheet too,
right?
And they're going to freeze it, right? December 1st, the balance sheet's frozen. So the Fed, you can call it whatever you want, but the Fed, as the balance sheet matures and drops, no, we froze it here, which means they're going to be buying back short-term treasury. Everybody in the hedge funds have been huge buyers of equities over the last 3 days.
They have been, yes.
Mm-hmm. Because you got to understand, we're in, to the viewers, you must identify these colossal, it's not the banks because the banks are so regulated, but the hedge funds, they get away with murder. They get to do everything, and they have money muscles, and they know where the areas, the weaknesses in the market.
And that's what I was getting ready to ask you. In the hedge fund side of this, where are the weaknesses? Where are they shoring up on the risk side in order to protect themselves? Because the hedge funds have a ton of money going into this end of the year now. Are they protecting those bonuses, or are they going to start to rotate into some sectors here?
Well, so everybody's saying hedge funds have been big buyers last 3 days, but I would say, okay, they're covering their short.
They're covering. That's what I think too. I think they're covering the shorts. That's what I think too. You're right.
Which means, are they beginning to add into longs? Their reporting periods are sometimes overlap the year. I would definitely think that, because these guys are cutting edge technology as well.
Yeah.
Many of these hedge funds have led the way of model automated computer trading. Many of these hedge funds have, when these different portfolio managers, each portfolio manager has a different portfolio, ETFs or some of these, and they manage them. And when they manage them, they buy and sell throughout the marketplace. But a lot of these hedge funds have gotten so smart that all of these buy and sells come into their own system, and then they net them out before they go to the public markets. A little bit technical, but what I'm trying to say is they have cutting edge technology. They are also cutting edge in the way they look at the marketplaces, and they see a Fed that in the next first quarter is going to get more dovish because of the people that are going to be in there. They see what Scott Bessent, who comes from a hedge fund, they see what he's doing in managing the government's debt. The Fed is very vulnerable now to criticism that why aren't you managing the debt? Why aren't you doing reverse repos? Why aren't you getting involved in this marketplace?
Okay. Explain reverse repos to everybody else.
They add liquidity to the marketplace. They can go in and buy back securities. They can go in and buy back certain and add money back into the system. They can manage the liquidity. We keep getting these.
But Steve, there's so much liquidity right now in the back end. There's so much money in M2. There's so much money on the sidelines in the banks. So how can they manage more? Is it buying back even more?
It's kind of creating the curve, right? You should look at, you have treasuries, short term, 3 months, 6 months, you have 1 year, 2 year, you have 10 year, you have 30 year, right? That's where all the debt is. So if interest rates, you should have a curve. If you want to borrow 30 years, I should say, well, I want a higher interest rate, right? Because I'm going to buy your debt. But when I buy short-term debt, the rates should be very low. So you should have a very nice yield curve. When we get these inversions in the yield curve where the 30 years suddenly drops and the short-term yield goes up, why is that happening? We can manage that, and that's
because we need money now.
But the Fed should be involved in managing that. They can provide that liquidity to offset that spike, that move.
And that's my point. Why is the Fed not doing that? Why are they spending so much time on rates and wondering whether or not they're going to raise them? I think it's political. I think they've gone political on this.
I really, that would be something I really don't want to have to think about. I would like to go, they just don't understand the management of the liquidity system.
Right.
The number one liquidity system in the entire world, the reserve currency of the world. More foreigners have our debt, right? I don't think they fully grasp that management, responsibility or skill set. And that's why you see Scott Bessent coming in, and who comes out of the hedge fund, who understands the fixed income markets very well. He's already starting to dabble. So hedge funds buying, why not? Looking into Q1, they're seeing what's going on, and they know that rates are going to come down. Steve, you just hammered home oil. What an incredible stimulus to the economy, the lower oil prices. And I think people are beginning to put the blocks together and seeing this quantum convergence from all this chaos in the first 9 months of this year. And they're beginning to see the order that is beginning to build. You throw in an India-United States trade deal was supposed to happen here. They've already gone through, I think, 6 rounds, and all officials are saying we're right there. There's just a couple of minor issues. It was supposed to be done by November 30th. Okay, here we are at the end of the month. We still have a weekend ahead of us, which it could. But you throw that one in, and then, attention shifts to Canada Mex. Again, setting up in that Q1. This is, I think you could end up, Steve, I heard you say 1.5% move possibly in a Santa Claus rally.
Yep.
I'm going to take that level and I'm going to put a 4%, 5% bid into the market. I think you could have a market that just starts perpetuating itself off of these lows.
Okay. Well, there you go. Steve Flanagan, Quantum Convergence, saying we're going to run. All right. But tell me what the catalyst is. What is it that you need to see? I mean, we still have Russia. We still have Putin screaming about it. We still have. I mean, over the weekend, South Korea and the United States bombed off the coast of North Korea in a show of force. Taiwan and the President Trump just spoke to the President of Japan about the China issue. Back off. Like it seems to be that the geopolitical issues are still warming up a little bit. They're not quite cooling off at all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's a flash, absolutely. But
Okay.
then ring fence it. United States, we had a talk with President Xi on Monday, and then suddenly a call to Japan, ease up, ring fence. We have some missiles being shot off North Korea. If we go back to Trump's first term, they all talked about the biggest. Obama apparently told them the biggest threat was North Korea. A ring fence, quickly saying, "Hey, keep it in check, buddy." So I think when I say the building blocks in Q1, you was immediately see a phone picked up and saying, "Japan, ease up. I don't want you to destabilize the building blocks that we're working on here."
And do you think that the new president, you think she will in Japan, the prime minister in Japan, you think she will back off of China? Because she's pretty tough there, I would say.
Political, Steve, right? Saber rattling to let everybody know I'm in charge, right?
Yeah, but we talk about this Middle East fighting forever. The Asians have literally been fighting longer than the Middle East. So, yeah.
Peace in the world is probably one of the biggest ingredients to a new to my quantum convergence, because when you have peace, everybody focuses on trading, and when you have trading, every nation begins to enrich itself and its people, and that is where I think I'll go out like 3 years. I think this next 3 years is going to be one of the greatest economic booms that we've ever seen in our lifetime. What happens after that? What happens?
Really?
Yes. Oh, yeah, Steve. I think we've seen
even after World War II, and even after some of the bigger booms that we've had, the 20s,
much bigger, because all of this technology begins to roll out. All of this money being spent in these data centers and everything. It's just beginning. I think we've highlighted. We're in inning 1 of a 9-inning game, and it plays.
I was reading the Wall Street Journal talking about the other day that without AI, we literally would be in a recession. We literally are in a recession if it wasn't for AI.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I frequently talk to some of my old buddies and colleagues throughout the marketplace. And what I am amazed about is, and I've only been out of the market since 22. What I'm amazed about is how adaptive everybody is using AI in the workspace now. Let's just take a very simple thing. We are having a meeting right now, and AI is listening on our meeting. At the end of this meeting, I say, send out the recap minutes from the meeting. That used to take 3 to 5 days. Now it's instantaneous. So now every single one of our members of our corporation, let's just hypothetically say, suddenly has the minutes on their desk that the executive committee discussed, blah, 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 and this is the goal being set. Think about the productivity gain right there. Just very simple.
No more need for a stenographer. No more need for all that. I was reading this weekend in Bloomberg as well as Wall Street Journal saying that right now, 12% of the workforce of the United States can be replaced by AI. That AI is literally up to the level of 12% of the workforce already.
And that's going to be one of the biggest transitions and this is where your government steps in. This is what the government is supposed to do. They should be helping with this transition. I think in January, what you're going to see is a massive announcement. And I think that the government is going to get very much involved along with the businesses in this world, which are already Ford and IBM and other companies are already, retrain Palantir. They're already setting up these organizations which are investing with our universities in training people coming into the workforce to be
Yeah.
more productive. So I think the government steps in and you're going to see much more of a transition because you cannot let AI have, cut the workforce.
Okay, so let's say, but you mentioned Palantir. I think it's a very smart move there. Palantir obviously is the CEO there. Alex Karp is talking about it from the perspective of his company, saying we don't even hire college kids anymore. We hire them out of high school, right? And they're in high school, and we'd say, "Do you really want to go to college, kid, or do you want to come work for me and make hundreds of thousands of dollars?" And
You
I
know,
think that's what.
yeah, the higher education, I think, has shown, its limitations quite severely, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm not belittling any of it, but if you come into this workforce today as an English lit major,
Yeah. Mhm.
where are you applying your skill set? So would you rather have a kid coming out of high school who perhaps understands, electrical engineering, can perhaps through my company educate and take higher education courses to be laser specific into where the demand in this marketplace is? I think so. So, I think that this is a very important point we're at. I think our government can play a very strong part here. But let me, for the viewers here, I was a spot trader, meaning I picked up
Mhm.
phones. Look at my LinkedIn, you see two phones. That's how I used to trade. In 2002, I suddenly saw what happened in 1990 with the voice brokers. They would sit there 30, 35, 30, 35, 35 paid, and all the banks would hear the price. Then suddenly EBS, which is the CBOE, put on the desktop an electronic price. And I saw what it did to all the voice brokers. So in 2002, I jumped into this automated trading that was just beginning to percolate. And did the advent of electronic trading through all the banks reduce the workforce? Absolutely not. It did not. It simply moved people's skill sets to different areas. I took my skill set and I moved it into the electronic trading because I understood trading. I helped our computer developers. I helped them program and learn how to teach a computer how to trade. So I don't think, Steve, AI is the biggest threat that people are talking about because I lived it. And it, in fact, gave me another 20 years in my career. And I think if people are smart, people will see the same thing. I think there'll be many opportunities out there for people as AI begins to develop more. If you take Elon Musk at his word, AI is going to allow less people to work and more people to enjoy life.
Sounds good to me.
I can't even get my mom to do on Apple News, much less AI.
It's funny when you look at, perhaps our seniors today, of which I am. Most of our seniors are on their phones and they are well adept at doing things. In fact, sometimes you're at a dinner table and grandma will turn and say, "Oh, look what just happened in the world."
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting for me when people talk to me and goes, "Hey, did you see this news article?" I'm like, I hate when people do that to me because I have already seen the news article, opined about the news article. It drives me crazy, right? And it's like, no, just tell me what your opinion is, and then I'll go from there. I don't. Yes, I've seen the article long before you did, right? But I'm going to tell you, and I don't want to say kids these days, but kids these days, they are really on the news more than we are.
Yeah. And I have two 18-year-old grandchildren. And trust me, when I start talking them and I say, this is what you got to do. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Grandpa. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I know that.
appreciate that. Yeah.
I have one grandchild who's come out of high school through the skill sets in New York. It was BOCES, and
Mm.
he has learned electrical, and he got a job right away. And I just had a conversation shortly on the holiday here, Thanksgiving, and I said, the two biggest states hiring that are so short of electricians, and he said, yeah, Texas and Florida.
And
And I
he
went,
said that without even pausing, like he just out of his mouth, right? That news is awesome. That's good stuff.
yeah, so that's why, along with my quantum convergence, chaos to order, I'm very positive in this younger generation that's coming up right now. Yeah,
Mm,
there's been a generation that's kind of lost. I call them the
that's what I'm getting ready to ask you. Yeah.
purple hair and the blue hair ones that are caught on these ideas and things. But the new generation that's coming up, they're like, no politics. Let's get the job done.
Right.
You got
I like that. I like that. I like that group. I like that group a lot. No
yeah,
politics, get the job done. I agree. Yeah.
yeah, and look at the government shutdown. I mean, they were like, what? Both of you people, like they're looking at the grown-ups saying, would you sit down and just open the government? Stop this nonsense.
Right.
All
All
and
right,
I
Steve.
I
It's
think
10
that's the
12.
important.
Yep. It's 10 12. Well, 10 13 now. Talk to me a little bit, 2 seconds here, give your sort of last opinion here, and we'll let Howard close us out. But talk to me a little bit about your thought for the rest of the day here on the shortened week. Where's the market going to go?
I think it's a migration up. If we close positive, I think to me this sets up an incredible next week.
Okay.
But it's really not about next week. Next week is all the shake and bake before the Fed on the 10th. You have RBA in Australia on the 9th. You have Bank of Canada on the 10th. You have the Swiss National Bank on the 11th, already at 0%. What are they going to do? They're minus 0.5% GDP now. And then
Cut
the
rates.
following week, all the Europe, you have Europe. So
Will they cut rates negative? Will they go negative?
oh, could you imagine that? Would that be?
It would be the first time they did it during COVID.
No, it would not
Yeah.
be the first time. But a major country, and why is Switzerland considered a major country? Well, because they're one of the largest equity holders in the United States. So
Correct.
if you begin to see somebody go to negative interest rates in a world where the Fed is sitting there in very restrictive interest rates high at 4%, I mean, that's like, a major shake underneath of the world right now, that somebody is delving back into negative rates. And of
Japan did
course,
it.
yeah, Japan's only at 0.5%. Now,
Right.
will they raise rates on the 19th? It's a 50-50 call right now, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to pass once again. Tokyo's CPI was actually 2.7. They'd
Right.
love to see that above 3%.
But this is what I'm talking about, Steve. They're lowering rates, and we're all in recessions. I mean, just how much lower can we go? Like we're already pretty low as it is. I mean, and considering the history of the world, right? This is not a good time. It's not really a great time. So your quantum convergence better happen faster than I think than your timeline. Am I right?
I think it will. I think by the first
Okay.
quarter of 26, I think, to me, we're already in gear. I'll say the first quarter of 26, it's already kicking in.
I like that answer. Okay, Howard. Appreciate you, Steve Flanagan. Howard, take us home. Take us home.
Absolutely. Quasar Markets Live. Thank you guys for all the help. I'm so thankful for all of you guys and for everyone that helps us here at Quasar. We'll be back bright and early Monday morning. We'll have a regular trading schedule going. Again, don't be afraid to take some profits today and enjoy your weekend.